Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I just wanted to say I appreciate your understanding so much. This is kind of a rough period for me for making a whole lot of videos. I'm trying my best to be consistent with making videos every week, but sometimes it doesn't happen. I am currently in an internship that takes a lot of my time up, but I don't want to make that into an excuse into not making videos. Making videos is something I'm really passionate about, and sharing nutrition related stuff and health and lifestyle related things on my channel is something that I want to do throughout my internship, and then even more so after I'm done. Kind of wanted to give you an update on that. I know I'm not as consistent lately with my videos, but I promise that I am still making videos, so stay tuned to what I have in store for you for the future. So today I wanted to talk about something that kind of relates to what I'm dealing with right now, which is a big change in my life. Going through a transition period, or just going through times of severe amounts of change. So I'm going through my dietetic internship right now, and it's completely and utterly new to me, and something that definitely puts me out of my comfort zone all the time, every day. But it's something that's worthwhile because I know that it'll put me in the spot that I want to be for my future and for my career. This doesn't just relate to dietetics or relate to me. I think everyone has transition periods in their life where they are going through a hard time, especially if you're getting out of high school and going to college, getting out of college and getting into the workforce, starting to adult, living on your own for the first time, and you've never experienced anything like it before. Those things can be very scary and completely understandable because, you know, we all go through it. But I feel like sometimes we think that we're completely alone when we go through these changes, and that's what makes them so scary. So today we're going to talk about some tips on getting through the change, and maybe it'll make you feel like you're not so alone after all, because I promise you are not. And comment below if you want to tell me and the community what you're going through. What is your current situation? What are you going through? What are you struggling through? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to watch more videos on my channel. I do nutrition related videos and also do lifestyle related videos. My first tip for getting through change is recognizing that change is not only difficult, but it's uncomfortable, and it can be even painful. This may sound like a downer tip, but I think that the one way that we're going to get through change is to understand what it's going to be like. When we think that transitional periods are going to be just like easy, or maybe we just think that once we get out of college everything's going to be great, when things don't go peachy like we imagined, then we get frustrated and depressed and anxious because we think that transitions should be just flawless, and once that you get X job, or once you get into college, or once you get out of college, that things are going to be so much better. We have these like high expectations for what the transition periods are going to be like, and then when our reality fails to meet those expectations, then we get really down on ourselves. We feel that if it doesn't go the way we planned, then we did something wrong, which is not the case at all. But even though change can be painful and stressful, and it takes a lot of mental energy, it is worth it in the long run. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be going through it. I think just recognizing it is the best way, because if we recognize that it's going to be hard, then we're going to prepare ourselves well, and rather than if we just say that it's going to be peachy and everything's going to be perfect, because that's almost never the case. Not to say you can't have a positive experience with going through a transition period, but just recognize that it's going to be both good and bad. So recognize that it's going to be a bittersweet thing, and don't just expect it to go 100% the way you imagine it, because then you set yourself up for failure. My second tip is to enjoy the process itself rather than just focusing in on what you want to achieve, because I know that it can be really easy to get caught up in what your goal is, and it's very good to have goals, but if you're only focusing on the result, then you're going to be miserable during the process of it. And I know this from experience because I have a lot of lofty goals, and when I get caught up in the goal itself and not just focusing on the day-to-day process, then I get really down on things. Like being a registered dietitian is a really long process. I'm almost there. I only have about 7 months left of the whole like internship, and then I take the exam to be a dietitian. But it's stressful because I've been at it so long, and I really just want to be a dietitian. So to me, I just tell myself that's what I want it now, when really I could be more in the moment and enjoying the process of things. I'm sure you can relate on some different topic of just wanting something so badly and just not being mindful in the moment and not being thankful for the things that you have in the moment, and that is just a really easy way to get anxious and depressed and not enjoy life. So we want to try to get out of that mindset. When you get in the mindset of, oh, I just want this right now and it's just life, we have to work for what we want to achieve. There's no goal out there that doesn't have some sort of process to the goal. In order to earn the goal, we have to work for it. So I try to remind myself of that, and I also try to count my blessings and write what I'm grateful for in my phone or in my Penzu journal. It's like an online journal. I try to write things that I'm thankful about, because then it really makes me realize how much I have. And I know that's a cliche piece of advice, but it really does work, and especially when you really mean it. When you write down the things that you truly are grateful for, you really do understand all that you have, and you stop focusing on the stuff that you don't have. So my third tip for getting through a transition period is probably my favorite one, because it really works. To give credit where credit is due, I've learned this one from a podcast that I'll list in the description box below, but it's a psychologist's podcast, and she really speaks to a lot of topics about stress and going through change and different health topics. If you like podcasts, you might like hers, so I'll link it in the description box below. So her tip is to have a few habits in your daily routine that stay consistent. And the reason this is helpful is because when we're going through all these changes, it's stressful simply because we are going through something new and we feel uncomfortable. And change is always going to be somewhat uncomfortable, different spectrum for different people, but it's always going to be somewhat uncomfortable. On a day-to-day basis, when you have at least one or two things that are the same, then you at least have that comfort zone with you, even if you're in a new situation. So say you're traveling and you're on an airplane and you don't like airplanes, or you've never been on one before. Maybe have your morning coffee just like you normally would, or bring something on the plane like a book that you love that you've already read before, and you have those things that are consistent, that it's going to comfort you while you're going through something new as well. Some of my habits definitely includes drinking coffee, unless I have extra nerves that day. I usually have a cup of coffee every morning. At night, I always go to bed with Netflix. I know that's not supposed to be the best way to go to sleep, but actually I find that I've calmed down at the end of the day by watching some mindless television. Usually it's How I Met Your Mother or Friends or something like that. It keeps me from focusing on negative stuff before I go to bed, so then I can go to bed in peace and not be thinking about the stressful things right before I go to bed and then messing with my dreams. So that's some stuff that I do that's consistent every day, but yours can be totally different. It can be drawing or painting or taking photos, or just something as simple as wearing your favorite shoes every day. Who knows? It can be anything. Your habit is yours to choose, and you can do just about anything that you're just comfortable with, something that you do every day. So when you're in a new situation, then you'll know that you have at least one or two things in your day that are consistent. So my fourth tip is, when you're scared, lean into it. And this is something that I struggle with sometimes, but I've been getting a lot better at it. But what I mean is, when you're scared to do something, or you find that the panic starts to set in, the panic hits, and you're in the moment and your body is telling you to run the other way. Fight or flight response to stress, which is common in, people who have anxiety, or anybody really. Obviously there are situations where if you feel fear, you should listen to your body. Like a car is coming at you and you're walking on the sidewalk, jump away from that car. In situations that don't mean life or death, or that aren't going to harm you, think about, is leaning into it better than resisting? And stuff like public speaking. I absolutely dread public speaking, but I found lately when I just tell my brain, listen, I appreciate that you are looking out for me, and I appreciate you're trying to protect me, but right now I really don't need you, and I don't need your extra added input. Kind of doing it in a way that's not resisting your body's natural response to something that's scary or new. Going with it, going with the flow. If you feel like it's not weird to thank your body for what it does, then do that and then just go on with it. Don't overthink it. One thing I do all the time is I overthink when it's a situation like public speaking or just talking to a new person. I think, what if they don't like what I say? What if I say something stupid? Or what if I stumble on my words and I don't know what to say? What if I make a fool of myself? You can think about all the things that could go wrong, and maybe they will and maybe they won't, but just the fact of thinking something could go wrong is gonna make it more likely for something to go wrong. When I think about things less, I honestly do better with public speaking and with talking to new people or going to a new place. And my brain overworks and overthinks things a lot, so this is one thing that I've really found helps, is to just lean into it and just go with it and don't overthink it. Usually when we do things that we're uncomfortable with, we find out once we do them that they weren't as bad as we thought. Almost always that's what happens to me. So I think that that's one thing that that's one goal that I'm really working on right now, and I think that everyone could go with it too, is because often we find that if we fear something, we just want to lean away from it, we want to run away from it, we want to, fly a jet plane away from it. But the best thing to do to grow and to be a happier person in general is to lean into fears and to try new things so that we're always growing. And then my fifth and final tip is a more tangible tip, and maybe some of you are looking for, like, physically, what can I do to help my body go through change and help myself through change. And something that I have found to work well for me is to reduce and just be mindful of the stimulants that I put in my body. And by stimulants, I mean like natural stimulants in food and drinks. Something like coffee, tea, soda, and sometimes like heavy amounts of sugar. Chocolate actually does contain caffeine as well. So the reason that I stay away from stimulants is because I have heavy amounts of anxiety sometimes. I do drink coffee and tea, and I do eat chocolate. I'm not saying that you should never have these things, but everyone is different. And for me, I find when I'm having an especially stressful week, like the last finals week of my grad classes and also the first week of my internship, I didn't touch coffee with a 10-foot pole because I knew my body was gonna react negatively to natural stimulant. Even though, it's just 1 cup of coffee, it's gonna work differently for everyone. But for me, going coffee free, caffeine free for a week or two during my transition period helped me from getting excess jitteriness that I already had naturally from my body's reaction to stress. On weeks where I'm really stressful, I usually abstain from it because I have my own natural caffeine in my body when I'm stressed out. So again, this may or may not work for you. Some of you may be more sensitive to caffeine than others, but if you find it helps, or if you want to try it out, I definitely recommend staying away from stuff that has caffeine in it, like soda, tea, coffee, and maybe even chocolate, and see if it helps your mood or see if it helps you from not getting as anxious, because I know that for me it really does work. Also, as an added bonus to that tip, I find that sometimes when I'm going through a stressful week in particular, I just like to take it easy on the exercise. Not saying to not exercise during your stressful times, because exercise has its benefits when it comes to reducing stress, so it's a good thing. So sometimes when you have like a HIIT workout or an intense cardio session, then that can get your heart rate up, and then your body in its stressed out state can get even more stressed out, and it can mistake it for panic, or if you have anxiety or panic attacks, it can induce panic attacks. Not saying it will do it, but it's possible, and I've had it happen before. So just for those of you who are extra sensitive to physical things like that, then I would recommend maybe doing yoga, Pilates, or some like walking, just some light workouts of the week that you know you're going to be really stressed out, or that you're going through your transition period, just because your body is needing that extra rest, and it's also not going to get your heart rate up really high to where your body might mistake it for something negative. So I hope these tips helped, and I'm so glad that you stopped by my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and like this video if you liked it. If you have any suggestions for future topics, then please leave them below, because I always love to hear your input. And I will see you in the next video. Have an amazing day, guys.